Hi, I'm Alison, one of the directors of Mycotherapy Rooms in Dalkeith. I am here today making the first of what's going to be a series of blogs that we're going to put up on our social media, talking about various issues that we think will be relevant to different sorts of therapists, and giving hints and tips and some updates about Mycotherapy Rooms and what's happening here in Dalkeith. So today what I'm going to talk about is some of the benefits of using a therapy centre as opposed to working from your house. Obviously there's advantages and disadvantages of both, but I just wanted to maybe point out a few things that you might already not have thought of. So whether it's working from a room in your house or from a garden building. So the first one, which for me is probably the most relevant, is if you're working from home, you have to be really conscious about clutter and about how clean your house is, which for me is going to be a big deal. So obviously if you've got people coming round, you have to think about the house looking, neat and tidy and things put away and not lots of personal things lying around. And what an area people might not always think about is their bathroom. You might have clients who want to go to the toilet while they're visiting you. So you've obviously got to think about not only the bathroom but the routes to and from the bathroom as well. So that could be very straightforward if you're a very clean and tidy person, or it might be more of a take more time if you're a bit more like me. So for me that would be a big deal. And sort of following on from that, my second reason is around privacy. So if you're working from your home, you're going to be living in probably a residential area. You've got to think about people coming and going from your house, not only for your own privacy, so you might not want clients to come to your house, but you've got to think about what the neighbours are seeing and people coming and going from your house. It's not quite as private really. And obviously you might have other people living in your house with you, so you've got to think about interactions between sort of members of your family or other people that you live with and your clients as well, especially at the moment when we're obviously working from home and the schools are not quite back to normal and what have you. Another thing that people might not think about is if you're using a space either in your house or a garden building, you might be lucky enough that you've got enough room that you can just set somewhere aside and just leave it, or it might be a multifunctional space like a spare bedroom or even a garden room that you like to sit in on a nice sunny day. So you're either going to come across issues where you're having to put things away and what have you, or you're going to find that you've got a space that's lying empty most of the time and not being used. So you've got to really think about, do you want to have a space in your house that's purely for one thing and you're either having to move things around or just leave it lying there most of the time? And my final disadvantage really is, again, something that people might not think about, is to do with your insurance and the conditions about your house. And just as an example, I used to live in a new build house, and there was a condition when we bought the house that you weren't allowed to run or operate as a business premises from the house for a certain amount of years. And I think some places might have that all the time, so you might not actually be able to operate legally from your house. And your insurance, you'd have to let your insurance know, and they may be happy with it and they might not. Or for those of you who are renting, again, you would have to really check it out with the landlord what they're happy with. So a few disadvantages there, as well as obviously the advantages. So talking about working from a therapy centre, there are some reasons why you might want to do that instead. So firstly, is around productivity. You might find that if you're working from home, there's lots of distractions, especially again if you live with other people. So such as kids wanting you to, not realising that you're actually at work and want you to do stuff for other family members. You might find yourself distracted by sort of household chores that you want to get up and do, stick the washing on or what have you. It's not as easy to kind of get your head into it when you're working from home. Certainly I find that. I'm getting more used to it, but I do find it's easier to be away from home sometimes to concentrate. The rooms we have here are all quiet, private rooms. There's desk space, there's broadband, really fast broadband. We've got kitchens for tea and coffee, so you can actually just sit and get your head down between clients if you've got stuff to catch up with and really just crack on without distractions. I already mentioned for my next reason about if you've got a room in your house that's multifunctional. When you come to MISA Therapy Rooms, it's set up ready for you to use. I'm obviously sat in a Daisy room here. We've got, you know, comfortable chairs, we've got the desk, we've got, you know, everything's just set up. You just come in and sit down and off you go. So you're not having to put stuff away or fold up beds or put away bedding or what have you. You just come in and that's you ready to go. Which leads on to my next reason as well. It's if you're thinking about projecting a professional image, it might be that you want to be part of a therapy centre. It might look, especially if you're new in business and trying to get set up, you might find that you want to seem that be a bit more professional by having a centre that you come and work from and people come to see you at, and you've got a business address essentially, which might be an advantage for you. Another reason I think is that, I mentioned already, if you're working from home, you've got a kind of issue of privacy perhaps, and maybe neighbours are having a look at who's coming and going, and people coming to your house that you might want to just keep a wee bit separate. Whereas if you're here, obviously, we're in the centre of Dalkeith, it's very private, it's on the first floor, so once you've come up the stairs and into the therapy centre, really it's quite safe and quite private. So you might find that an advantage. And my final reason, which I think is actually really important, especially for those of you who are quite new, is around marketing and publicity. So I imagine that most therapists will be doing their own reaching out, however methods that you've found, whether it's advertising online or word of mouth or whatever, and obviously people will be doing that anyway. But from MISA Therapy Rooms, we obviously have our own social media channel, we have our own website, we're trying to sort of get the word out there that we're here. You might have seen us in the Midlothian Advertiser for the last couple of weeks. And that has actually been generating inquiries, which we've been able to then pass on to the people who work from here. So their client group has increased as a result of that. Which obviously if you're on your own, you've got the one channel, which is great, but having the two is maybe a bit more helpful if you're trying to build up more clients. So we feel that actually being part of a therapy centre is actually quite beneficial, and of course the one thing that I haven't mentioned is around networking, and we do find that therapists who work here, we're starting to build up quite nice links between people, so we've had some cross referrals and people offering to provide therapies to different client groups and what have you, which you wouldn't really get if you're on your own, not in the same way. It's a bit more easier if you're all using the same space. And obviously as time goes on and we can gather indoors a wee bit more, we've got a social space for therapists and we've got a wee library building up, and it's quite nice to be part of that group rather than just firing away on your own. So I hope that's been interesting and informative. If you're interested in coming to work with us, please do get in touch. You can find us at www.misatherapyrooms.co.uk, and you can email hello@misatherapyrooms.co.uk. Look forward to hearing from you. Bye for now.